What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about suspension setups, and I'm going to be giving you my full 100% opinion on what suspension setup I think would work the best for your Magride / DCC suspension on your Volkswagen and Audi. I'm going to be covering all the different routes that you can go from spring to adjustable spring, coilover, and air ride, and why I chose to go with the route that I did, and what could make your decision easier based on the setup that your car has and what you want to achieve ultimately with your car. So just a little background before we go out on a drive and I just tell you guys how I like the suspension, how the car's been riding. It's been about 2 to 3 weeks since I've installed the suspension. I've been driving the car a lot more recently, and I've definitely put about, I would say, 150 to 200 miles on the car, and I think the suspension has now settled a good amount. The car does look a little bit lower now. I will show you that in a second, and the car's been riding awesome. The only thing that I need to do now is recalibrate my Magride, which I have a buddy that's going to be doing that for me soon, so that the only issue, and I wouldn't even call it really an issue, is when you lower these cars on the Magride suspension, when you hit really big bumps, the bump stop in the strut, which is internal, it sometimes bottoms out on super big bumps, so you get like a louder clunk or like a bang sound, which doesn't sound great, but it doesn't happen all the time. It's every once in a while on a bigger dip or bump. So that's just something to keep in mind if you have Magride. If you lower the car, I believe it's like more than an inch, then you may get some clunking when you bottom out like really like hard. But it's not too bad. It honestly, I can count on one hand how many times this happened so far. But he says with the recalibration, everything should be good. So we're going to be doing that soon. So when it comes to suspension on these cars, there are so many different routes that you can go, from regular springs to adjustable springs, coilovers, air ride. So first of all, I know I never wanted to do air ride on this car. It just didn't come to mind. I want the car to be more track focused. I want it to ride good. I wanted to handle good. So air suspension was already out of the picture right there. I debated coilovers, but the only thing with the coilovers is I didn't want the ride to be too harsh on this car. I thought the car was pretty comfortable with the factory suspension, so just putting coilovers on, even though it would handle better, it would definitely stiffen up the ride a lot more, which is what I didn't want. And then I didn't want to lower the car and get a softer coilover setup and then possibly bottom out or rub or any of that. And plus, since I have the Magride, I would have to buy the DCC cancelers, which those are another like $400 to $500. So I don't know, I kind of push that out of the way as well. So then I got to thinking, I could either do a regular spring setup, I could do something like H&R, 034 has a good spring kit for these cars. I could have done, Racing Line has another good kit for these cars, APR has springs for these cars. So those were those different options that I could have gone. Then I could have gone the adjustable route, which is what I did, which goes between H&R has an adjustable kit spring, KW has an adjustable kit spring, MSS kit is a really good spring kit for these cars, and then you have ground control. There might be a couple others out there, but those are probably the main ones that people know about. So I chose to go ground control. I did a lot of research. It took me over a year to lower my car and to find suspension that I wanted. Now, the reason why I chose to go with ground control, and it's just my opinion, is that they will build a kit specific to the needs that you want. So I told them when I was building my kit that I wanted the car to feel as close to stock as possible and be able to lower the car a good amount. So they basically gave me their opinion and they gave me the specs that they thought would help me achieve that on my car. And honestly, I think they did a great job. The car rides awesome. It feels just a little bit stiffer than stock, and it definitely dropped the car a good amount. Plus, the car's not even maxed out whatsoever. My rear suspension is about almost all the way up, and it's already lower. And then the front, I have another like inch to inch and a half to go down if I wanted to. But again, like I said, I want to recalibrate my suspension so that I don't bottom out. But I can lower the front a little more if I wanted to. The rear sits perfect the way it is. I could slam it and it will like completely tuck tire, and the car still rides amazing. So the reason why I didn't go with the regular spring setup is just basically, for example, H&R. I've heard a literal 50-50 between people having good things to say about H&R and people having bad things to say about H&R. A lot of people say the H&R springs ride really well. It's a little stiff, but it's not too bad. And I know H&R does lower the car a lot. It looks really good when people run those springs, but I didn't want to run the risk of the car being uncomfortable driving it, and that's what I wanted to avoid. So that's why I stayed away from H&R. I did consider 034, but it's only a 3/4 inch drop if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. I have seen other people's car on 034 springs, and they do look good, but I don't think it was low enough for my liking. Maybe if it was like an inch to an inch and a quarter drop, something like that I could have achieved, maybe I would have went that route instead. And all the other spring kits, I don't know, I just don't know too much about them. And I went on the forums, I went on Facebook pages, and everybody who runs the ground control adjustable suspension really likes the kit. So I think I made the right decision. They also partner with Eibach, so all the springs that they offer from ground control are made by Eibach. So you're getting some of the top of the line best springs. So I can't even complain about that. I am super happy with the decision that I ended up making. Now, we're about to go on a drive, and I just wanted to say this, that personally, this is just my opinion. I like the adjustability of the springs. They're super affordable as well for what you get. The quality is 100%. Their customer service is pretty good as well, so if you have any questions or issues, they usually answer pretty quickly, so that's something also to keep in mind. This doesn't mean that, you know, I would not go to a coilover kit if I were you because of what I'm saying here, because truthfully, if down the line I did want to switch to a coilover setup, I would. Let's say I would get like the Bilstein B16 coilover setup, and then I would get the I-sweeps for the DCC cancelers, and if I had to spend 2K suspension, if I wanted to go even harder with this car, I would do that, just so you guys know. But for the time being, for what I'm doing with this car, I think this suspension setup suits me the best. So this is how the car is sitting right now. As you guys can see, I think it's pretty obvious that the suspension settled 100%, because now the front is much lower. As you can see, this is about 150 to 200 miles on the suspension, and the rear still looks amazing in my opinion. So you could definitely tell that now the suspension on the car is pretty much settled in, which is why I didn't want to adjust it prematurely, because I knew that if it did settle and it lowered where I wanted it to, I wouldn't have any issues. But I really think the car looks really good now. I could probably lower the front just a little bit, maybe like a 1/4 inch more, just so that it evens out just a little bit, because the front is still a little bit higher than the rear, but even on this side as well, it just looks amazing in my opinion. And this is the exact look that I was going for with the car, just a little bit low, a nice meaty stance, and the car looks, in my opinion, really good. I'm super happy with the result. All right, so let's go out for a quick drive so I can just tell you how the suspension is, how it feels. Now, if you hear a little bit of sound, I have a case of water in the back of the car that might be rattling a little bit, but I would consider this a pretty uneven road, and hopefully the camera could pick up the car going over the bumps and seeing how planted everything is on the car with how everything is set up. So, I mean, I'm purposely trying to hit some bumps so that we can test it out. But like I said before in the video, I've probably put about 150 to 200 miles on the car, and it's felt really good. I can't lie, the car's felt very planted. It lowered the car pretty well, like you saw earlier in the video when I walked around the car and showed you how the car looks at the moment. And I'm definitely probably gonna tweak the suspension just a little bit. As you can hear, see, like that was a massive bump. You heard that clunk. It probably bottomed out right there. But again, I chose a terrible road on purpose. This is like an industrial road, kind of close to my house, and it's awful. So that's probably why you heard. I mean, yeah, this is really bad actually. I think I chose a really bad road. But again, we're just testing out the suspension, and that's normal. You have to recalibrate your Magride when you lower these cars. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do decide to keep your Magride struts. So, but overall though, again, this is not a good road, and the car does feel really good. It takes bumps very well. It doesn't feel very bouncy. It's not too stiff. I would just consider the car at the moment just a little stiffer than it comes stock. So right now I'm in individual mode, so I have everything set up the way that I want for this car. So that is the valves open on the exhaust, comfort suspension, comfort steering, sporty transmission shifting and all that stuff. So I'm gonna turn around right here, and we're gonna go back the other way. Yeah, the car still feels good too, yes. Yep, I mean, look, I just went over a pretty big bump right there and no issue. And the car recovers very well. So, honestly, I give the suspension a very high rating. I know it's gonna feel much better and much more planted after I recalibrate the Magride. And that's my next plan to do because I think that's super important. And I just don't want to blow out these struts or whatnot with harsh driving. But again, this isn't my daily, and I don't do some crazy driving. I don't track the car autocross. All I really do is just have fun in the street and then go to the drag strip. So for that, I think the car would be set up perfectly. And yeah, guys, I'll leave a link in the description for this suspension setup for what I'm running, and you guys can check them out. If you have any questions, you can ask them. They could probably set up a specific kit for you that would work best for the needs that you want. Here's the big bump again. Yep, okay, now we avoided it. I hit it straight on before. There we go. I think any car, honestly, even on stock suspension, would bottom out on that. There's a huge dip in the road right there. So, okay. But yeah, guys, just a quick drive. So, now we're gonna go and see. But yeah, guys, just a quick drive, just to show you basically how the car feels while going over bumps. Honestly, guys, the car feels really good over the bumps. I can't really complain at all. It feels awesome, and I really do recommend the suspension. If you're looking for some kind of adjustability but don't want to fully go to coilovers, I think the suspension setup would work very well for you. They have so many different ranges of springs, different lengths and springs. Just tell them exactly what you want and they'll be able to set up something for you to your liking, and I'm pretty sure you'd love it. Anyways, guys, that's going to conclude the video. Thank you so much for watching. The suspension setup you choose really depends on the direction that you're going with your car. So for me, I think the adjustable spring route was the best way to go, because for what I want and what I want the appearance of the car, for what I do with the car, I think it was the best option overall. I think, again, it all depends on what you guys want to do. I think for a really budget-friendly thing, you guys could go with a regular spring setup like H&R. Just know it might be a little stiffer, maybe a little too stiff for your liking, but it'll drop the car exactly what you want. If you're looking just to lower the car, that's a $200-something suspension setup you could do, which will look good, probably handle a little better, and honestly, overall, you'd probably be happy with it. But if you want something a little more user-friendly, a little more practical, something like a adjustable spring setup like KW, MSS, H&R, the ground control suspension that I have would probably suit you better, because if you don't want to go to a full coilover kit, I definitely recommend something like this, because you still get adjustability, you can keep your Magride, which is what the point of the video is basically keeping your Magride if you don't want to go to a coilover or an air ride setup, and this would probably be the best thing that you can do. It is pretty affordable, in my opinion, for a full suspension setup that you can still adjust while retaining your factory struts. So, in my opinion, I like it. But hopefully you guys enjoy this video. In the comments below, let me get your opinions on what you think. What kind of suspension setup are you running, and why? Have you guys ran the ground control suspension? Are you currently running it? Do you like it? Let me know. If you have any comparisons from this suspension to something else that you're running now, let me know why you switched up, because it's possible in the future I might switch up. Maybe I might say that I want more adjustability and I go to coilovers. So maybe I will get like a Bilstein B16 setup, and maybe I'll go that route instead and then have to fork up the money to cancel the DCC and all of that stuff. But again, when we reach that point, we will reach that point. Right now, I'm super happy with the way the car rides. I'm super happy with the way the car looks, and paired with having my wheels back on with the spacer kit, I think the look is just exactly what I wanted, and I couldn't be happier with this car. But anyways, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.